I thought the little meat sack brought the animal along for a meal. I had no idea why it gave the meal a name. I'm Brian, the meat sack said, extending its headless little paw. And this is Ferris, it said, with a nod to the animal. I've never seen a Ferris before, I replied, staring warily at the outstretched paw. What is it for? The meat sack laughed. No, Ferris is his name, it said. He's a dog. I stared at both of them. I liked the dog animal because at least its face had some sort of recognizable expression. Hungry, the dog animal's face said. What's it for? I asked again. It shrugged and pushed its blonde fur back along its cranium. He's my best friend, it said. In our society, the word for best friend is the same as the word for sex partner, because these two concepts are indistinguishable. I contemplated this for a moment. Is it a good best friend? I asked. The meat sack moved its little head up and down. The best, it said. I was brushing my tail when Tarlin and Orville came to the mess hall. That little pink doll thing has a little black animal thing, Tarlin said. They walk around like they're married. I'm pretty sure they are, I replied. The pink thing is named Brian, and the little animal thing is named Ferris, and is a species known as dog animal. Brian said that they were best friends. Oh, they both said, looking at each other knowingly. Orville plopped down at the table and took out her tail brush. Well, I think that's very progressive of them, she said in an encouraging tone. Their galaxy needs more interspecies partners. Tarlin wrapped a tentacle around a bottle of water and gingerly lifted it to his mouth. It never ends well, he said with a gulp. Remember, Akron and Dacron, Orville interjected. Yes, of course. Akron didn't understand Dacron, Tarlin continued in his insufferable know-it-all way. Didn't understand Dacron's temper, and that's how Akron lost a hand. It's true, I said. Now he only has the free hands. Orville shrugged, rolling the wire brush along her scaly tail, digging the tines into the deep nooks. I think we should respect their choice. After all, love is rare in this particular sector. Tarlin took another gulp of water. I want to eat it, he said. The dog animal, I asked. The Brian doll, he replied, and the dog animal. They both look tasty. I shook my head. Listen, that Brian has a wealth of knowledge about terrestrial mining, and we, may I remind you, have spent most of our time in and around gas giants, so we need the meat sack. Tarlin looked at me and then at Orville, who glared quietly. Sure, he said finally. Okay, no eating the pink doll, for now. Tarlin, Orville said, setting down her brush. The Brian has as much right to be here as we do, and you're not planning on eating us, are you? He looked us over. No, he said, because you put up a fight. The little doll is defenseless. No tail, no claws. That little soft skull full of juicy brains. Brains, Orville said dreamily. That's enough, I said, putting my brush away. Everyone get some rest. Leave that little Brian alone. I woke in my quarters to the sound of some strange animal gnashing, followed by the unmistakable sound of Tarlin, howling in pain. I leapt from my pod and grabbed my whip. It was likely Orville harassing Tarlin again. I gasped in shock as I entered the hallway. Tarlin limped towards me, his face blooded, part of a tentacle missing. The Ferris, he said breathlessly. The Ferris! What happened? Orville said as she entered the corridor. The meat sack came out of his quarters with the dog animal. Hungry, the dog animal's face said, even though its snout was covered in blood. The meat sack was carrying a weapon we didn't recognize, though I would later learn that it was called a shotgun, and its effects were terrible. This how you treat guests? The meat sack growled. We threw up our hands and claws and tails and tentacles. Orville was visibly shaking. Tarlin clutched the stump of his tentacle, his voice woozy and apologetic. They're so small, he said. I didn't think... The meat sack aimed the weapon at his head. Come into my quarters, it growled, and you'll never think again. Orville let out a gentle, whimpering cry. It's so mean, she said. So mean, Tarlin said. And the little dog animal, Orville said. Not cute at all. Okay, I said reassuringly, taking Tarlin by the shoulder. Everyone return to your quarters. I'll patch Tarlin up, and then in the morning we'll discuss the reconciliation. The meat sack gripped his weapon warily. The reconciliation, it said. What's that? Well, in our society, when you wrong someone, you become their new... what's the term? Oh yes, best friend. The meat sack stared silently. Hungry, said the dog animal's face. So Tarlin and I are supposed to be friends now? Oh no, I replied. Tarlin and Ferris. I'm sure they'll be happy together. Very progressive, Orville said, as Tarlin looked on in mute horror.